Good morning, traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the Morning Market Prep video for March 26th, 2025. Well, I hope everyone had a great evening, ready for another day in the market where hopefully we'll get a little bit more price action than we had yesterday. Let's take a look at what happened overnight before we get going here. If we take a look at Asian markets were mixed last night, but just slightly more were higher. We had the Nikkei enjoying a pretty good move yesterday, up 246 points or 0.65%. Australia was up as well, 56 points. India was down, however, 180 points. We had South Korea just slightly higher. We had Hong Kong moving up by 139 points, and the Shanghai lower just marginally at $1.28 or 0.04%. If we take a look at European markets today, European markets we'll have a little bit of, well, kind of an interesting day. Right around noon or midday in the UK, they're going through what they call their spring statement. And the financial minister, Rachel Reeves, due to some reorganization of their budget, is expected to announce billions of pounds worth of spending cuts to close their budget shortfall. So kind of keep an eye on that. We could see some movement in the European markets here as we get going through the day. Right now we've got European markets. We've got the DAX lower by 190 points. We've got FTSE down, up just slightly, 6.79 points, and the CAC is lower by almost 67 points here this morning. So we'll want to be keeping a pretty close eye on what happens over there in Europe. U.S. futures this morning, all just a little tiny bit lower. They have been improving. Once again, since I've been up, they're continuing to do the pump up in the pre, trying to get things going here. We've got the Dow futures right now up 22 points. S&P 500 futures, down 22 points. S&P 500 futures down $5.50. And NASDAQ futures down 31 at the moment. So just a tiny little bit of bearishness or uncertainty this morning as we continue to approach these inflation numbers. We've got the worries of the tariffs after next week, and really the concern of inflation and recession on the minds of the market. Let's take a look at oil. If we take a look at XLE has been performing quite well, and we've been seeing a lot of those oil stocks making really good patterns in the charts. So watch that carefully. XLE up here pushing resistance in the chart. It is a little ways away from the trend here, so don't be surprised if this rests back or consolidates a little bit into that trend. But looking pretty good here on oil. Right now we have oil futures moving higher. They're up $67 a barrel at $69.67 a barrel. Brent this morning is also higher at $73.60 a barrel. And natural gas that has been moving down just slightly higher here this morning by about 3.5 cents. So keep an eye on that. We've got kind of a head and shoulders pattern here, and that possibility that we could soon break this neckline. So watch that carefully here in natural gas. If we take a look at our bonds here this morning, well, bonds this morning, a little bit higher. We've got the 2-year bond at 4.03%. We've got the 10-year coming in at 4.33%. And the 30-year is running 4.68% as we're continuing to see a little bit of that worry on recession and inflation pushing back up. If we were to take a look at our U.S. dollar, as you can see, kind of flat here this morning, just kind of resting and maybe sliding into a little bit of a consolidation. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Remember that we're dealing with a big area of congestion or resistance right up here in this area of the chart. So watch carefully on the US dollar as we continue to see currencies kind of fluctuating around. If we take a look at what's going on in precious metals this morning, well, we've got gold looking just slightly higher this morning, up $2 an ounce at $3,028 an ounce. Still in a very, very bullish pattern here in the market. And there are a lot of miners also in very nice bullish patterns. Silver this morning is also higher after a strong day yesterday. Silver is up 10 cents an ounce, $34.20 an ounce. Showing some resilience here, trying to bounce back up and reclaim that area of support in the chart, showing some strength in here at the moment. If we take a look at copper moving up. Copper had a good day yesterday and up about 7 cents here on copper this morning. You can see COPX were up here testing resistance here in the chart. So watch that closely. And if you take a look at FCX. FCX would be one of those stocks that is just really running right now to the upside. Any rest or pullback, I think, would have an opportunity there. Platinum is slightly lower, and so is palladium slightly lower here this morning. Let's take a look at those cryptos here this morning. They've been struggling here just a little bit after the big move on Monday. Big surge to the upside. This morning we've got Bitcoin up pretty modestly, up $80 a coin or 0.09%. Ether this morning is down 95 cents. Very modest move, and we're seeing some small moves across those cryptos here this morning, but mostly green. So what does all that mean for the day? Well, how about we settle in and let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the hump day, the Wednesday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thanks so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. Let's take a look at these charts, see if we can gain a little bit of information about how we might want to approach the market for today. Remember, we want to look at the charts for what they are, not for what we would like them to be, and see if that helps us as we progress throughout the day. Now, if we take a look at the diamonds here, nice little push here in the diamonds, obviously pushing up through this resistance here in the chart. And though yesterday we had very little price movement until the last 10 minutes of the day, we surged back up. If we take a look at a 15-minute chart, you can see that 15-minute chart was just dead in here. And then that last push in the day, that last 10 minutes, pushed us up just a little bit. But we didn't make it all the way back up to close the day any higher. We were just below the morning open. So we might be slipping into a little bit of a consolidating move here on the diamonds. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Little rest as we wait for these uncertain data points coming up later this week. So watch that carefully. One thing you do want to note is our economic data yesterday was not good. A 12-year low in our consumer confidence. That's not a good sign. And the fact that the market was able to hold up yesterday with such negative economic data is a testament to just how strong those bulls are, or tenacious they are to try and get a relief rally more sustained here in the market. But I got to tell you, if we continue to pile on some of that bad economic data, that could become a problem pretty quickly. So we're up here testing this downtrend in the chart. We broke through this resistance in the chart. So if those bulls can find inspiration, we need to see them push right on through this area here. And I would say pushing right up into here would be that next level. You can see that comes right across over into here. That next level in the chart to see if we can push on through, if those bulls can get going. If the bears end up with any inspiration today, then a pushback here to test this area of price support would be pretty logical to see. But if we were to break the low of this candle right here, then I think that possibility that we dip into this gap and see if we can come back and test that gap and the trend here for a little bit of price support in the chart. Breaking down below there is where we'd really start to raise some concern in the market, and that possibility that this is rolling over. If we take a quick look at our moving averages, you can see a fill of that gap would be a good strong test of that 200-day moving average that we've reclaimed. So watch that carefully if that were to occur. Let's take a look at our SPY now. SPY also up here testing some downtrend resistance in the chart. You can see I could extend this line right up through here. That downtrend resistance in the chart we'll want to be watching closely. We're pushing against that area here this morning. It's possible that we might just be slipping into a little bit of consolidation here in the SPY. Remember, it's not uncommon as we go into the next round of earnings that we get a little bit of choppy consolidation. This would be a little early for that, but wouldn't be out of the question that we end up in a consolidation as we wait on that next round of earnings, which is a few weeks away here at this point. So watch that carefully. If the bulls, however, find inspiration, we want to push right on through and see if we can get up here and test this area of price resistance in the chart. Now, pushing through that would be pretty remarkable, but if we could push right on through there, if the data is good enough, there's a little bit of a congestion area right there that I would be watching for the next area of resistance. If the bears, however, have anything to say, we start pushing back down through these areas of the chart. Of course, the bottom of the Monday's candle would be very critical. And if we start pushing down through there, then that chance we could fill this gap, coming back into some of this support back toward trend, and the full fill of that gap could be possible. Below that, of course, we get a little bit concerned here in the market. Now, oops, I should go back there on our moving averages. As you can see, we're just trying to hang in there on that 200-day moving average. You will want to notice that our 20-day moving average is crossed down through the 200-day, and our 34 exponential right in here could potentially put a lid on that SPY as our major moving averages continue to kind of squeeze down together. Our QQQ, very much the same, pushing up here in the chart, except we don't have that extra downtrend in here. You can see we're pushing against a pretty substantial area of price resistance in the chart that runs all the way back over here. If those bulls can continue to have bullish energy to push on through, then that possibility to push right up in here. And big tech, some of those tech giants have really been trying to get something going here in the QQQ. So watch carefully for that possibility. If they can push on through, that might garner a little bit of a rush into risk kind of a thing. So watch that carefully. Now, if the bears were to find inspiration, first area right here, test into there, would be a good test of support. Beyond that point, probably the open of Monday's candle is where we'd be looking. And then beyond that, we're looking into possibly filling the gap back down here toward that upside trend. Certainly a possibility if those bears were to get going. And our moving averages in here, remember, we're just testing the 200-day moving average as resistance. Notice our 34 EMA has come a lot lower here, trying to show maybe some resistance up in this area, being kind of wound up tighter together. So watch that technical resistance as well in the QQQ. Our IWM pushing against that resistance line right here. That big red line goes all the way back here to 2021 and 2022, showing the lows of that resistance there. We came up and we tested it yesterday. In the last 2 days we've tested it and just haven't been able to break through there. So we're going to need some bullish inspiration for that to occur. A push back up here to retest, and then maybe we can pop on through that area of the chart. If the bears, however, have something to say, you can see setting right here on this area of price support, that possibility that we were to slip back, maybe filling this gap back to the trend. Watch that closely. It would be breaking back down below there. That would probably raise some concern. If we take a look at our VIX yesterday continued to pull back. We're about 17 handles here on the VIX. You can see our next level lower, if those bulls can keep pushing, would be right down in here around 16 handles. Watch that carefully here. This is quite a pullback in the VIX, showing that reduction of fear. But it's interesting, it's like fear has been popping out in other places, and it's popping out in gold, it's popping out in silver, in that kind of defensive type area of the market. So watch that carefully. If we get those bears coming back in for some reason, then we've got these levels up here to be testing in the VIX. Watch that carefully if those bears were to get going. And then if we take a look at our T20s, our T2122 yesterday, interesting, let me get to a daily chart there. T2122, as you can see, pushed back yesterday. So in the New York Stock Exchange, remember this measures the U.S. Stock Exchange, every stock in it, and we had more stocks selling yesterday than moving up. Despite the fact that we squeaked out some wins in the market, we had more stocks in decline than those going up. That being said, that opens up an opportunity for the bulls. If those bulls find some inspiration here in the data today, then that gives us that opportunity to stretch up here toward that bearish reversal zone. Haven't been able to quite get up there just yet. Came close on Monday with a big gap up, but been struggling since. If the bears, however, have anything to say in here, you can see we're about 55% right here at the moment. Then we've got about an equal chance, just a little bit more space for the bears to push back if the bears were to get going here on the day. If we take a look at our T2108, well, our T2108 also pulled back. Percentage of stocks above their 40-day moving average, easing back yesterday. But I got to tell you, it was so boring and controlled yesterday. It was just chop, chop, chop. Nothing, no damage occurred here. Just pushing back to test some support in the chart. So watch that carefully. If the bulls have inspiration, we could bounce right off of this real easily and start pushing higher. If, however, those bears have anything to say, we could also easily be pushing back down into these areas of the chart. Same with T2107, the percentage of stocks above the 200-day, just easing back slightly yesterday. No particular worries. Let's see, we're 34.5% of the stocks above their 200-day. It's tough to make a big bullish picture out of that, but at the same time, we just didn't have any energy to the downside. And that's really the problem. our breadth. Our breadth on these bullish moves since Monday, well, we haven't been able to get anything going here to the upside in breadth. The breadth continuing to fall yesterday, despite the bullish move in the market. Not seeing that breadth follow through, which opens that door to that big whipsaw. If the bears were to be inspired, maybe they pick up the breadth here. So as we continue to squeeze to the upside, we need to see those bulls pushing in. It also sets up an opportunity to start looking for some of those potential short trades in the indexes. If we can't get that breadth following through to on the bullish side, I would start watching for that potential rollover in the indexes. So be kind of careful here. Let's take a look at our economic calendar here for today. There we go. Our economic calendar, we've got a few things to be paying attention to here today. We've got mortgage applications that will be coming out here really soon. Keep an eye on that. We're going to hear about those durable goods before the market opens. They're suggesting here in the consensus that we're going to fall from a 3.1% on new orders to a -1 on those durable goods orders. Not the best sign in here. And ex-transportation numbers coming in stronger, up 0.3 from a 0.0. So keep an eye on that report today. Then we've got some Fed speak. We've got a natural gas report, bond auctions, some more Fed conversation in here, Treasury buyback. There is a survey of business uncertainty that you'll want to be paying attention to at 11. The prior last time had sales growth of 3.72% and employment at 4.41%. So that's what we'll be testing against. Watch that here later today. Then as we plan forward, remember, one of the reasons we could end up being rather choppy today is we're going to be waiting on this GDP number on Thursday morning. We've also got international trading goods, and we've got jobless claims coming in there, along with corporate profits, retail inventories, hotel inventories, pending home sales, natural gas report. Tomorrow's going to be one of those bigger days, and we even have, well, actually today is probably about the biggest day of earnings today. It falls off a little bit tomorrow, so watch that closely. And remember, everything's winding up for that personal income and outlays number on Friday. Let's take a look at our earnings calendar here for today. And our earnings calendar, well, this is what we've got going today. Chewy, Cintas, Dollar Tree, Jinx Solar, PayX, and TH. Those are the notables here for this morning. And we've got a few here this afternoon. Looking at these charts, you're going to know that really none of them are the kind that would be super market moving. But let's take a look at those. Chewy trying to bounce up here this morning after earnings, trying to get something going here, so watch that carefully. Chewy trying to hold a little bit of a bottom. Cintas is pretty flat here so far, may not have reported yet, so watch that. Dollar Tree trying to move higher here this morning. Trying to push up on some of those discount retailers. JKS moving lower. PAYX also moving lower. And TH trying to get a little bit going to the upside. This afternoon, we've got CNXC that will be reporting. Fuller Brush, or the old FB Fuller. We've got Jeffries, one of the first financials that will be coming out with a report. Watch that one closely this afternoon. MLKN, Wolf, Steelcase, and VRNT. So keep an eye on those for this afternoon, those potential earnings reports. Let's take a look at a few stocks that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, everyone, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you could do me that favor and click that subscribe button on YouTube. Also click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful, if you could do me that favor, clicking that thumbs up button, leave a brief comment. That helps the channel to grow. Thank you so much for everyone who does take the time to do that. I do truly appreciate it. It helps an awful lot, and even for those folks who share these videos on your social media feed, thank you so much for your kindness. That helps a lot in getting, just attracting more folks to the channel. If you like it, perhaps some of your friends and other trader folks would like it as well. So thank you to everyone. Let's take a look at some of these charts that could be setting up, and remember, everyone, they're not recommendations to buy or sell any security. We need to be watching these very closely because there's a lot of price movement in the market that just suddenly shows up in places. Let me give you an example of that and why you've got to be really careful. I've been watching Merck in this nice bullish pattern in here, kind of setting up. Well, yesterday just absolutely fell out of bed, just smack down on that. And Merck was moving a lot of these stocks lower, a little lower high here in BMY coming into plays. Could be a potential short setting up there on BMY. We saw things like J&J breaking support here, pushing down, possible short setting up there on J&J. So watch that carefully. They can look like they're going to set up and look really good, and then all of a sudden just break down hard. So be careful here in this market. Let's take a look at MSTR, MicroStrategy, which is essentially a Bitcoin holding company anymore. MicroStrategy pushing up here, looking good, breaking that downtrend. Now, once again, I don't want to chase this first wave move up. I want to wait for that to kind of show some rest or support. If that holds some kind of a higher low, then that actually establishes that upside trend. So keep an eye on that. Could set up in there on MSTR. If we take a look at a few of the other things out here that I think are pretty notable, AMD as one of the techs out here. Nice crossover up, showing nice enthusiasm and push here to the upside. Now what we need is that proof that we can hold. Notice that what we could be forming in here is an interesting little head and shoulders pattern if that were now to rest back in here on AMD. So keep an eye on AMD. Possibility does exist there. Something to be watching for sure. If we were to take a look at some of the telecommunications in here, AT&T caught an upgrade yesterday, stretching on through. Watch this carefully. Any rest or pullback in here would set up a resumption potentially of that upside trend. So if we were to rest, consolidate here a little bit, then look for that resumption to occur in AT&T. I believe that was a Goldman upgrade yesterday. Looking good in there so far on that. Now, please keep in mind to have a bias on this because I am holding AT&T on this weekly chart, and you can see on the weekly pattern here, beautiful potential setup for the upside move on the weekly. I've just got just a fantastic profit on this trade, and right now it's looking like it wants to continue. Take a look at Comcast. Comcast breaking back through this bottoming pattern in here. This has been a very, very choppy chart, as you can see, but breaking back through up here. If this can hold now, then look for that next opportunity there in Comcast. Let's take a look at MCK. MCK is continuing to show that bullishness here in the chart, pushing to the upside, looking pretty good. No particular worries there. As this consolidates and rests in here, I would be looking for that next opportunity to the upside. Let's also take a look at MKC. MKC had earnings yesterday, gap lower and zoomed all the way back up. So watch that carefully. We still have a pretty good area of resistance, and this may be nothing more than that bounce back up to that next shorting area in the chart. But if it can push back through up here and hold, well, we may be rejecting that low in here. And this is one of those defensive sector stocks. If the market does get a little bit funky, we might look to some of those and those good dividend payers for some protection and safety in the market. Rivian has been running back to the upside here, and this is a pattern that I'm seeing an awful lot of, where we're just pushing and crossing through to the upside, but we're coming into these downtrends and resistance areas of the chart. Fairly big resistance area, as you can see right in here, and that downtrend. I think Rivian, I would be watching that for that potential of a rollover and a possible short. And there are a lot of those charts right now. I mean, they are everywhere in the market. So be really careful with that fear of missing out and chasing stocks to the upside. You could run into a little bit of problem doing that. Gotta say, I really like the way RTX is looking. Nice little push here to the upside. Any rest back to the trend just helps that pattern, I think. Keep an eye on RTX. General Dynamics also looking pretty good in here. Worth taking a look at, holding in this bottoming pattern as well. And, you know, I'm remiss if I don't talk about the situation in gold and silver and some of the really good patterns in the miners. Take a look at Newmont. Newmont holding in there, very bullish. Barrick Gold looking good. Your GDX ETF looking very strong. GDXJ also looking very strong. So look to some of those precious metals, some of those miners, and even Alcoa is trying to hold a higher low in here. Slip through that downtrend. It's trying to hold in here. We might even start to see aluminum come back around. So with that, everyone, I want to wish you all a fantastic day. I want to wish you great results in your trading. Thank you so much for being here. I hope your Wednesday is awesome, and I'll see you right back here bright and early Thursday morning. Take care, everyone.